meeting, Board of Trustees zoning hearing for application ZON-25-01 Stu Got's Italian Sausage to order. Mrs. Batten, would you be willing to call the roll?
Trustee Ringel.
Here.
Trustee Faust.
Here.
Trustee Knapp.
Here.
Would you please all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you everyone for coming out this evening. Typically, we go in a little bit of a different order. We generally have a staff report and the applicant provides any additional presentation related to their application, and then we do public comment. Since my understanding is that there's no changes to the application this evening, I think we're going to go with public comment first and then have any additional feedback from the applicant. And then if we need additional public comment after that with board questions and comments, we'll address those at that time.
But I know there's no change in the application, but I thought that they were going to go check on some different things like the liquor whether they could be adjacent to a school property and whether the liquor like the liquor question, the deed restrictions. Would you want them to come up and tell, they were doing research and they were going to get back to us on some things? Maybe they could
We could probably do both. I mean, if there are any outstanding questions that people didn't feel like they were able to ask last time, maybe allow them to speak if they want to, and then we can have the applicant address that along with
But should the applicant present like any new information? I think they were going to meet with residents and then give us their report, and then we still have resident comment. And they were going to check on the whether or not they could do deed restrictions and those kind of things. So if
Do you have a preference, or?
I'm fine with either.
in that way
We
they
can let them tell us
because
what they
I don't
feel
know if the
successful.
residents will have
Yeah.
comments until we've heard if there's anything different, but they just haven't resubmitted.
Okay, yeah,
What
that's
do you
fine.
think? Okay.
So applicant, if you wouldn't mind providing maybe some of the additional feedback that you've received since the last hearing and any address any comments that were outstanding.
Just take one.
Just take one.
Yeah, there you go.
So I appreciate that. And Joe Clace, Plan for Land, and I passing out to you the responses that we did distribute at an open house. I'll kind of run through those. We had an open house at the Aquatic Center here, and I appreciate you guys helping to provide a facility for that. We went through question and answers as far as those questions that were posed at the public hearing. We didn't get a lot of additional questions, so those 6 questions that are on this questionnaire are what we kind of focused a lot of the conversations with neighbors on. We did appreciate that opportunity. I feel like some of the people that came might have been a little bit more adversarial toward the project beforehand and provided an opportunity. I did give you a map in there of the area that we had, that we had extended notices to. We hope we caught those that were interested. We went a little bit beyond what you had for a typical zoning notice, just because we realized there were some additional people. The condominiums, we hit the association hoping that they could extend it to the members of the association as well. I'll go through those questions. So there was a question about the reuse of the building, why a restaurant. There are other uses that this building would be considered appropriate for, and we try to call out. There's a number of uses within the permitted already within the development plan that we think would be fitting, but it did include the possibility of reuse for office as well. We obviously want this business to succeed, and we don't want to dwell on that, but we did answer that question at least first and talk through the idea that this is a small scale facility. We're not trying to build something that's going to be expanded, and based on the setbacks in the development plan, it could not be expanded. So the facility itself would be kind of pinned in there with the setbacks that we had identified last time. Additionally, developing a restaurant would mean more commercial around the site. A lot of the properties are already developed or they're zoned for development, and the fact that you guys control across the road, we hope you share in the notion that there's a bigger plan probably for this area, and we're not trying to set a precedent. This property was zoned as a part of the original zoning to plan commercial, and we feel like this type of use, while it wasn't called out specifically, is something that would fit this site well and may have been considered at the time if it was discussed. Additionally, the possibility of future tenant seek a liquor license. We have a whole separate handout on this, but we did do some additional research. There's a letter in here by Porter Wright, and I'll maybe let Marino elaborate on that a little bit, but the notion is that there is an opportunity for the township and the school special condition where they can object to a liquor license being issued. Additionally, we offered some thoughts on how that might be restricted, including a development commitment within this development text to indicate special approval needed to be obtained for a liquor permit as part of the zoning. The next one is on-site parking. The pickup carryout window, we did itemize that on the plan as what it was. It's not a drive-through, and we're looking at, this kind of goes hand in hand with the trip generation. Looked at comparable uses. There's about 10 orders per hour that is expected from this type of use. Those orders include those through the drive-through. The trip generation from the the pickup window. The pickup window is a supplement to what's going on inside of the building, but it's not intended to be the main course of revenue. The experience inside the building is obviously what's being marketed here. So those 10 orders spread out, it's not a major trip generator, and even if those individuals needed to park, there is ample parking for those individuals if they decide to pull in and park at the facility. And I think my client would like them to park and come in and witness what's going on inside the building as well. We believe the number of cars would average closer to 5 to 7 and not this peak of 10. As far as the last question, we talked about the possibility of smell. That did not come up additionally at the open house, but the notion we did impact here, there's things that can be done and will be done. High quality ventilation systems will be included, things cleanliness within the restaurant to help ensure that there's not an outdoor odor. And we hope, obviously, neighbors downwind, which would be the school district, they smell if they come, but anything downwind would typically be to the east, which is where the stadium is located. So we don't think that there's a high impact from anything like that. And like I said, the impact of what we can do within the facility to try to increase ventilation would be the biggest thing to help address that. The next sheet was economic impact. We had some people at the open house just kind of ask about restaurant in general, and we did want to indicate the projections that we pulled here were from Panera Bread, which is a comparable investment scale to, and it's here in the township. But tax generation from something like this would help support any road improvements. We do not believe that we're making a negative impact on the roadway, and we actually hope that the tax revenue that's generated from the business can be used in a positive way to help improve the local area. So we try to give some justification there, not just the township, but the schools and everybody else that would be receiving a benefit from this business. It's roughly 40 times what's being paid right now off this vacant property. And I think that's my last one. I'll kind of pass it on to you to talk a little bit more about the business itself.
Yeah, so thank you. So I want to just come back to the liquor license and expand on that. So I had Porter Wright do some research. So the restaurant, if someone wanted to get a liquor license there, it would be a D-class liquor permit in with the Division of Liquor Control. Within that D-class liquor permit, because we're within 500 feet of a school, there are two additional provisions that kick in an objection. So if a permit was applied for, the Department of Liquor Control specifically is required to notify the school and specifically required to notify the township. Both the township and the school then have specific protest rights. They have a 30-day protest period, and they also can extend that to a 60-day protest period. And so because we're within 500 feet of a school, they would have, the school and the township both would have more specific protest ability for that.
If one of those entities were to protest, what does that mean?
So it carries weight with the Division of Liquor Control, because those entities are, protected set. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you it's 100% the Division of Liquor Control would say no. But from my conversation with the Division of Liquor Control and from my attorneys, that issue with the school and the township carries significant weight with them. Having said that, right, I think that we would also, you know, be able to entertain if there was, you know, a development plan commitment put in the text that, you know, we wouldn't seek a liquor permit. But again, I have no problem with that.
Do we want to ask our attorney to, Mr. Griggs, are you able to address that?
Yeah, so, Mr. Clay handed me the memo tonight. I agree pretty much with the liquor license permit, objection in that process. I think, it's accurate that, any objection by the township or the school district would be considered heavily, by the liquor commission. I tend to disagree a little bit on the conditional use permit portion of this memo, only because, Ohio Revised Code 519.211D as in dog specifically prohibits the township through zoning from prohibiting the sale of liquor in any area that's zoned commercial or, where a restaurant would be. So I think, you know, while I appreciate their willingness to put something in the development text, I'm not sure it's going to be enforceable, if somebody down the line chooses to. So I think the remedy really is going to be our ability to object through the liquor permit process.
What would the basis of such objections be that would be valid? We just don't like it, or
Well,
would
I
you
think-
need to?
Well, yeah, I mean, so I think just because it's the proximity to the school, I think is, look, I'd like to believe everybody followed all the laws, but, you know, having that potential access to, our kids in the school, I think would probably be your biggest objection.
And the township could make that
I think
argument?
they could as well, yes,
And
absolutely.
we are directly adjacent to, also, we
Correct.
are across from it.
Yeah. and
So we
I
can
don't think
make
it's
that,
because we're neighbors, though, I think it's because.
It's just because we're a
the
township,
Just
yeah.
because you're the township. just
yeah,
because
so
you're the local
we're allowed to
subdivision.
make any kind of adverse impact statements
Yes,
or
a-
objections? Okay.
Absolutely. And look, I mean, I've had clients over the years that have been, when they've objected, they've been pretty successful. Granted, it's not 100%, but more often than not, they are going to listen to the local subdivision.
Thanks.
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
We also, if you want, I can continue with what we provided to the residents. So in your packet, you have a little bit about my family and what we provided to the residents just to, you know, assure them. I think, you know, there was some concern, and Trustee Faust, I think you asked about the school. So we did have an opportunity to talk to the school, specifically Jeff Gordon. Jeff had no concerns with it. The restaurant, he actually said he was looking forward to it and was something he would definitely support, and the school. So I did point out that, you know, again, I was born and raised in this area. I've lived here my entire life, went kindergarten through 12th at the school, and wanted to have a business where I'm back in the community I grew up in and that I can be proud of. And I think there was, you know, I realized last time I probably didn't talk enough about myself, in that, you know, I have the ability to build this restaurant. So I am a CPA, specifically a tax CPA, corporate taxation. And for the last, you know, I started my career with the big 5 accounting firms back in the day. For the last 30 years, I've worked for Cardinal Health. I was head of global tax planning for Cardinal Health. For the last 20 years, I've been head of global real estate. And so I'm also a licensed real estate broker with the state of Ohio, but I manage real estate and construction for Cardinal Health, and, you know, I probably build $50 to $100 million a year in construction around the world. And so very familiar with the process of building. This is something my wife and I have planned for many years, so I have secured the funds to build and sustain this restaurant until, it gets up and running on its own. There's no issue there. My wife and I have been planning for this for so long that actually after my kids graduated where I was school, my wife went back to school to get her culinary degree to help support this process, and also went and worked in an ice cream business to learn how to make ice cream. So yeah, we've been planning this for quite some time. And did want to assure the residents that, this is really about small business, right? This is not some corporate, standard thing. I want to get to know the residents. We want to be a great neighbor. As I talked to Jeff Gordon, I've got a proven track record of being a good community partner. I've done a lot of projects with the city of Dublin, as you can imagine, with Cardinal Health over the years, and so I've been a very good neighbor, community supporter. I think this is where, I think this could be a truly unique asset to the neighborhood, and we talked a lot about that with the residents, and even the board president of the condo association who came to the meeting, which was really nice, and I think they're very much on board, that it could be a nice place for them to walk to. I stressed that I really want this to be a walkable place. There was question about, well, why aren't you on 23 where you get all the traffic? And I explained, that's not what I want. I don't want it to be such a crazy, busy place. I want it to be more of a family-friendly place where people walk and can enjoy and ride their bikes and bring their kids to. And that it's a really family business where, my wife's gonna work in it, my son-in-law, I've got, something that's really a family business. So I think we explained a lot of that, and I think there was a lot of great enthusiasm for that.
Robin, do you have anything to add?
I have nothing to add. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would note that, as we noted earlier, the facts have not changed since the previous hearing. I would also note that we have not received any written public comments since the previous hearing.
Thank you. Any initial questions before we open it up for public comment?
Yeah, I also spoke to Mr. Gordon, and he said I thought he supported it from the school district. Let's see here. When would you propose that the restaurant would be opening?
So, I think we have to do design work, because I haven't done any design work yet. So I think it'd be probably, 4 to 5 months of design work and working with the Delaware County Health Department, getting those approvals. From there, it's roughly an 8 to 9 month process to build. And then probably 2 months of practice, and, you got to get the appropriate license. So all in all, probably 12 months from now, 12 to 14 months would be my guess.
And so there was a question, the potential tenants could occupy this property. So this is I wasn't sure of this answer. So is this Robin, what uses are being proposed in this application? Just a restaurant, right?
That is my understanding from the way the development.
Yes, just a restaurant.
Okay, because it said the design might facilitate a variety of neighborhood commercial tenants, including other small restaurants, cafes, or even office spaces. So would office spaces be a permitted use?
Not under the current development plan. They would have to come back and amend just
Okay.
like we're.
Okay.
So we're taking,
Probably my fault. It
yeah.
was more of an adaptive reuse. We were just indicating that you wouldn't be in a position where you'd have to approve another restaurant. There might be other
Okay.
uses that would fit this building.
And you would reapply for new zoning for that, correct? Because this is only for a restaurant, right?
So it takes what now?
Single
There's a couple different options. It's taking it down to a single restaurant. on that parcel.
Yeah, right, where restaurant is not a current option.
Correct.
Because it's not, okay, I just
Yeah.
wanted to clarify that. Let's see here. And what hours did you say you plan to be open till 9 PM? Is that right?
Yes, roughly 9 PM. There, you know, if there was a football game, I did talk to Jeff Gordon about coordinating, being a good partner with the school and wanting to coordinate with them and, you know, if they have football or something like that. But yeah, generally hours would not go past 9.
Okay. And have you registered your name with the Secretary of State?
Yeah, so the name is registered with the Secretary of State, and I'm currently in the process of getting it trademarked as well.
Okay. And, let's see. Okay, I think that's all the questions I have for now.
Yeah, I don't have any questions either. Jeff Gordon actually gave me a call, and he said that he had spoken with you and gave it the thumbs up and didn't have a concern. I also ran into Dana McDowell, who's economic development for the county, and he also vouched for you with your work within Dublin, so.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll at this time open up the floor to public comment. If you wouldn't mind, please coming up to the podium and stating your name and address. Direct your questions, comments to the board, and then we will ask those questions to the applicant after we have received all the public comment, and then we'll make sure that no questions went unanswered. So if anyone has any public comment?
Jared and Gina Gibson. We live, excuse me, 6049 Orangewood Drive, south, so we're directly west of where the proposal would be. Been a resident of Delaware County for 57 years. My parents had a farm in Liberty Township since the 30s, and so I've seen a lot of change, and I'm for change. I don't like it sometimes, but we're in the fastest growing area of, state of Ohio. It's booming, and I know Marino since we kindergarten through high school, and same with Gina and I, and it's we know his character and what he stands for, and when he says he's going to do something, he'll do it, and I think it's very important for you to know that. As far as the impact in the community, I'm very for it. I think it'd be great to have a walk-up facility. Evans Farms has that now, and I think on this side of the tracks we could have, because our area is growing. And with you and the property right across the street, I've been told by several trustees in the past that it's possibly a park. And that'd be Eric, you go. And the school owns right around you, so what they develop on that, who knows?
Yeah.
And it's an investment for them too. They could turn around and sell it. And we're back to stage one. We're fighting something else going in there. She grew up in the house we lived in, and we bought it when her parents passed away, so she's seen some major changes in the area.
There's a mound in our backyard that my dad fought long and hard to have built so that we wouldn't see all the development. So my dad was, they lived there since 1970, so, and then we moved in. So I've seen all the development. It used to be a one-way, or no outlet, and
And as far as the traffic coming back in our neighborhood, I really don't think it'll come down to our end. It'll keep it up on rail timber, where that's what the road's designed for, from what I understand from the last meeting, that they put the road through to help leave the traffic from 23. And yes, people speed to the area, and that's an issue that you've dealt with through the trustees and the township and through the police department to deal with. Has anybody brought that up to the police department? That I don't know, or the sheriff's office, but it needs to be done. We walk there and we see the cars speeding through the area. Most of our traffic is for the Myers landscaping business or the driving school. That come out and go to 23, and we don't use 23 to access their business, because right there, I don't know, they cut through our neighborhood to do it, and we don't like it, but again, we see that's what's for, and I think it'd be an asset to the neighborhood, and with the proposals, I think it's restrictions they want to impose, and I think it's a good asset. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Other public comments?
Good evening. My name's Andy DeSabato, and I live in the condos there, 728 Redwood Lane. And my concern is the traffic too. When we first moved there 7 years ago, the timber rail didn't go all the way through, and they just opened it up probably within a year, maybe a little later, but it's a mess there. And you got people speeding down there, and the traffic is horrendous now. I mean, you know, there's going to be a big wreck there sooner or later, because there's no stop signs and the people really speed through there. So now you put a restaurant in there, there's going to be a lot more traffic and people trying to get in and out of that. It's just going to compound the problem, in my opinion. I'm Italian, I love food, I love the sound of the restaurant, believe me. My uncle has an Italian restaurant, but yeah, it's just tight in there, and I hope you consider that, you know, mainly the traffic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Other public comments?
My name is Josh Huff. I live at 6050 Orangewick, right across the road from Gina and Jared. Yeah, you know, I've been there about 14 years now, and I have seen a lot of changes, not a lot of good ones in my opinion. Wasn't real happy about the new development you guys put in north of us, but I guess it is what it is. I have nothing personally against the restaurant. I just feel like it's not in a good spot. I just don't see how that's gonna be, you know, a great area. That used to be, that area was under a conservation easement. I don't know when that changed. So that's a concern. We used to see a lot of wildlife in there. Now we don't see anything except, yeah, cars speeding through constantly. I'm concerned about any additional, trash that may be generated. I mean, I'm sure you'd be good stewards and keep things clean, but you can't police everything. There's a lot of runoff we get now constantly from all the other development. It's just east of us anyways, and it comes and it floods through a lot of our properties there, so that's a concern. We get a lot of, yeah, cut through traffic. The road is not, we don't have a traditionally wide road. It's basically big enough for one car, and my concern is also gonna be additional traffic coming through there. I have a young son, he rides his bike to school there. I'm concerned about him getting hit. He tells me he has, you know, near misses nearly every single day on his way to the middle school. So, you know, those are all concerns of mine as well. Again, I have nothing personal against the restaurant. I just feel like that type of business should be out on 23, where we are as a residential area, and I just feel like it's gonna be a clash. I mean, I can appreciate how he wants it to be a, you know, home neighborhood walk-up place, but I just feel like that's not a good location, and I would like to remain, just be green space. It's all the same to me, but that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
My name is Fred Hunt. I live at 6130 Orangewick Drive South. I've been there since 1976. My wife and I raised 3 daughters. They all went through Olentangy schools here. The land that I live on there is an open field directly to our east. That would be opposite of where the restaurant would be. Our concern is that there would be that traffic. Some traffic would probably still, regardless of what some people think, filter through Orangewick Drive South to get out to 23. It can be a shortcut. It gets busier every year. The Myers that was brought up. The driving school is another. It's not, and you think a driving school, that shouldn't be a problem. You know, these are learners. at 15 mile an hour, which is the speed limit through Orangewood Drive South. The problem is the parents that bring the children to the driving school. And I understand everybody's got errands, coming home from school or coming home from work, trying to get their child. And everyone has a propensity to drive faster than they should. That road, as people have talked about, was not actually built to any particular standards. It was put in by the individual that developed 12 of the 14 homes where we live. To come back to where the restaurant is at, one of our concerns is the lights at night. I know they'll be closing at 9 o'clock, they claim, but in the wintertime, the sun sets much earlier, and every time a car comes out of that lot, it's going to shine lights right across that open field. To us, my wife and I, we just simply feel that one restaurant, that will be as busier than a normal office building. If it was an office building, there would be 2 times a day where it might get really busy, in the morning and then in the evening. People coming and going, and then they're out. I would highly and humbly ask your request to in this case, to turn this proposal down and to not allow that restaurant to be there. Like was uttered earlier, we have nothing against the people that are trying to build this and wish them good fortune in trying to find a location where it would be better suited to a community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Other public comments? All right, seeing no additional public comments, we'll close public comment at this time. We have some concerns that were expressed, and we'll probably have some follow-up questions. I think one topic that was touched on, I think that we're all well aware of, is traffic concerns on rail timber. For better or worse, we can't take traffic into consideration when considering a zoning application, but I think as we talked about at the last hearing, we will look into, regardless of this application, the increase in traffic on rail timber. The county has, from my understanding, wanted it to be a collector road to take traffic off of 23, but there might be some traffic calming measures that signage that we could potentially put along rail timber to help with traffic mitigation or speeding mitigation. There was a question about lighting. Can you talk more about the lighting for the development, proposed development?
Yeah, I can at least address what we have on the plans, and then if Marie wants to add that. We were presenting dark sky compliant lighting. It's downcast lighting, would be compliant with the Orange Township zoning resolution, but we also went to limit the lighting. There's only 2 lights that are along the conservation easement to the west, or I'm sorry, it'd be to the north, where we have pretty good screening. And the reason and nature of that's most of the parking for customer parking would be there. The front door light is a gooseneck light, and that would actually illuminate the parking spaces, as evidenced by the photometric we provided. That would illuminate enough for it across the parking across the way there. But it is all dark sky compliant, downcast lighting. The goal is to try to emphasize the use, not the glare. So he'd like people to be able to see the building.
I think as far as lighting, what I also heard of it was cars coming out of the property, which that obviously we really can't.
Well, I can talk about that. I don't
Yeah.
know if I talked about that at the last hearing, but that was a big part of the design of this. When you come in, the pickup window as an example, the circulation on this site is actually, is that counterclockwise?
Counterclockwise, so I'm facing the stadium when I'm waiting to pick up
Correct.
my order, okay?
Yeah, so we can't stop people because of the width the fire department wanted for drive aisles, but the idea is the majority of the parking's to the left. If they go straight, they're circling around. The majority of the people, once they're on site, unless they're parked in those few spots to the east, they're actually leaving they're heading southbound when they leave. And that was why the design was to try to limit headlights coming out, and partially to get the angle so we weren't crossing over. There's a potential for conflict if there's too much traffic coming from the south side crossing over. So The nature of it is the counterclockwise action, so we hope that helps with the headlight screening, but that was taken into heavy consideration. Additionally, the grade of this site is so much higher than the road. The goal is going to be that primarily the headlights can be aimed into the street as they're pulling out there. That's something we can take a look at in final engineering, but as they're pulling out the curve approach, they're actually going to be angled down. As far as headlight screening across, we'd add headlight screening on those parking spaces that aim, if that's something that the board would like to see. We do know that there's going to be some grading in that area for stormwater improvement likely, so if that's something that we could make as a condition, I think you'd be open to that for those 7 spots that would be aimed directly west.
At the road at Real Timber.
Yeah.
Would it be possible to draw a directional arrow to, as people come in, like almost one-way traffic around the building, so you're coming in and going to the left?
Yeah, that's absolutely possible.
Other questions or comments from the board?
Oh, yes. So would you be okay if this was approved for it to be limited to having this layout exactly as depicted, everything and not changing at all, the building, the parking, everything?
Yeah, the only modification we had in the text was maybe going to a 1-story building, but yeah, as far as scale, what's being proposed here is what we'd like to recommend.
I did want to make it clear that, eventually something will be built on this parcel, regardless if it's a restaurant or, an office building, something will be built on this property at some point. I know I did get a email, I think Trustee Faust and I both received one from Meredith Blazing. She wasn't here, right? She didn't speak? Okay, and she said she objected to the use, just for the record. So I think the use is, I really like the proposed use, and I think it's very interesting, and maybe, I mean, I'm not sure if it would be successful or not, but I still go back to the original zoning for the property where the residents nearby said, they had input, and the zoning commission and everybody was concerned about the use of that property because it was specially cordoned off, specially broken off, from the rest of the uses in the residential. And it's just such a highly intensive use for that area. It's a restaurant. Restaurants are very, very busy. And originally, zoned to be like an office, which is a much more muted use. I still have that same concern. I'm not sure if it's appropriate there, because it's just such a highly intensive use. And, it was supposed to be an office, and that was the concern. And also, since we're zoning the use, not the user, in theory, like I said last time, a different kind of use could come in, and this could still be, even if we could object, it could be a restaurant, it could be some type of bar, it could be open till 2 in the morning. It's very hard for townships to control hours of use. So once it's rezoned as a restaurant, as long as it maintains the zoning, it could be any kind of restaurant. You could have, it could be a restaurant, pickup only, pizzas. I mean, I can't think of what else would fit into that same use, but you could have something that is much more intensive of a use, and you could have 30 or 40 or 50 trips an hour. You could have delivery. I mean, there's a lot of different things that could maybe still fall under this current, zoning if this was approved. I'm still just really concerned about that, and I don't think it fits in there, even though I like the family story and the concept of it. I just think that that area was zoned like this for a reason. It's primarily residential. Does anyone else have any thoughts along those lines?
I think, as I mentioned at the last hearing, I was a little surprised by the proposed use, and I was concerned about the school's opinion on the use. It seems like the school has pretty enthusiastically supported the use. So I think that addresses a major concern of mine. I know we had talked about the liquor, the potential for a liquor license at the last hearing as well. It looks like we do have some options to potentially address a property, a restaurant that close to the schools from having a liquor license. So those are my initial thoughts on the application. It's, to Trustee Knapp's point, this property is very likely to develop at some point, and that's gonna have an additional traffic impact. So I think we have to look at the traffic impact on Real Timber moving forward regardless of this application.
Yeah, I mean, and to your point about the schools, they do support it, but they don't have to live there, you know.
That's true.
They don't live there. They won't have to deal with the potential disruption and the lighting and the noise and just, even though, like I said, it seems like a really interesting use in a different location, but I just think it's gonna be really much more disruptive than an office would be, as it's zoned for currently. I think there's a reason for that.
Do we know what time it would open?
We got an application 11 o'clock,
Okay.
11 a.m.
So like for lunch and dinner?
Yeah, but it could be any
Right,
hours.
Robin, are we able to restrict hours with zoning at all, or no?
Not typically, but our legal counsel
He's
tells me.
shaking his head, yes.
Yeah, I asked Julie about this. She was gonna get back with things. We've been told that we cannot
Yeah, so-
regulate
Well,
hours.
that's because there was a Supreme Court case in 1990 that basically said that townships lacked the same authority as a municipality. They lacked what they called general welfare zoning, and therefore they could not regulate hours of operation. Well, I helped write, I think it was 2005, we put an amendment through the General Assembly to expand the township and county zoning to include general welfare. And for other reasons, that legislation was taken up to the Court of Appeals. And one of the things we cited in the brief was, why is it important for townships to have and counties to have general welfare? And hours of operation was one of them. So it is a little bit irregular, but I do think you would have the ability through text to control the hours of operation, because you now have, since 2006, comes after the Supreme Court case, you now have general welfare zoning. It's more of really an enforcement issue, a practical enforcement issue. But I think you could, if you wanted to.
But you have to make a case, like if, say, they decide to become 24/7. I mean, what kind of
I
case
think
could
they
I
would have to
make?
come back, and I think at that point in time, it would be part of the development text, and that would be a zoning violation, and they would have to come back in front of this board to amend potentially the hours of operation. Again, I don't see it very often. It's rare. I think I agree with Robin, and I think the reason it's rare is really more of an enforcement issue.
Yeah.
But if push comes to shove, I think you do have the authority based upon the change in the law in 2005-ish.
Yeah, I've received a few different opinions. I've always been told here that we can't regulate. I mean, it's,
Well, most people do, I mean, they just don't understand the significance of that change and the words general welfare and what that entails. And it basically gives you the same zoning power as a municipality, which is what the Supreme Court previously held townships did not have when they struck down hours of operation limitation. So,
but it would be a hard sell once a building's been built and all the investment made on the property, and then, oh, they want to be open at 7 a.m. and open, till midnight now.
yeah, I mean, you're gonna basically be restricting a business in how they operate, and that's a whole nother, I'm
Yeah,
not sure we're
it'd
really.
be
in the-
tricky. Right, so
no
they
pun
could go
intended, in the
either way.
business of telling other people how to, what's best for them, so, but
It's risky, I mean,
it's highly irregular, is what I would tell you.
especially if, we want, for football games, I mean, who knows what
Right, you might
activities will
wanna
go
be
on
open
there
till
if you
10
wanna
or
be.
something after a
Yeah.
football
Yeah,
game.
and if we never approve the intent use in the first place, that's probably why it's not brought up much, because once you approve a restaurant, it's approved, versus, leaving it as an office.
Where I've seen it is more of like entertainment centers, amusement parks, that type of thing, is where I've seen hours of operation.
That makes sense. Like a
So,
sports park or
but
something.
not really a kind of like a retail or restaurant oriented use.
So when Jeff Gordon called me, he brought up the liquor issue, and he said, I mean, they sell alcohol at Kroger, a couple parcels over, so he didn't seem concerned. And again, like you
But
said,
you
he
don't drink
doesn't
it,
live there.
or, well, wait,
Well, you don't, but there's Keystone right there, there's a bar.
that's not a strip mall, yeah.
Yeah, but, correct, does feel more residential.
Yeah, and the school said they have no plans for that property at all currently,
Right.
and I know the township doesn't.
Right. But at some point, we could see the buildings this parcels across the street having some sort of commercial space. Yeah, and
What are the do you know what, Robin, what the parcels are that the school owns and
they're
that
on either
we
side of
own?
our parcel.
Yeah, but do you know what the uses are? Are they zoned at all, or?
They're actually zoned multifamily plan residential.
Oh, really?
Really?
All three of them?
I believe so. It was a surprise to me that the township owns multifamily zone property.
We could build some condos there.
We have no plans to build
No,
any condos.
right? No, not, just,
Do you mind if I address the traffic? So there was comments during the open house as well, and sometimes land use decisions come out of these other application hearings, but there was a lot of discussion about trying to cut the commercial access off 23. Nothing obviously in our application would prohibit that, but I did want to stress that because I know that's probably a separate decision that you guys would have to consider, but it seems like the residential scale and the residential side on the back here, obviously Marino doesn't want cut-through traffic through the residential neighborhood and try to focus on anybody that's outside of the immediate area that's coming to visit his restaurant. He'd like to see them go through rail timber.
Rail
so
timber,
the-
Old Tanger Crossings.
the main access, so, but I would say, there was a lot of comment on that topic, so if that's something that, could be addressed. Additionally, that office, we make it sound like an angel. I represent a lot of different clients, and I will say there's a notion that office, come and go at 8 and 5, but what we found is service businesses today, offices, and the main reason people have bricks and mortar stores is that they have traffic coming and going as well, so, we would like to think that the restaurants proposed is actually less traffic than what you would get, because an office building on this site would likely be a lot larger than what's being proposed, and it may not have to have perimeter access. But I know it was required by the fire department for this because of the kitchen, so as I indicated, there's only so much we could build on, but I think this property probably does have a lot, as you witnessed on the prior development plan, has a lot more buildable area than what we've utilized here. So I would hope that the limited scale restaurant compared to a much larger office would be something that you might take into consideration. Thanks.
Robin, could a bigger building be built on this for an office? Like, how much of it could be built? They're asking for divergences, right?
I have a setback exhibit in there.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
technically, yes, they are asking for divergences, although those divergences were already approved in the original.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It is, so it's correct that they are not building to the maximum of the setback line. They could, in theory.
Like, how much bigger do you
This
think?
is what it could be.
We got an illustration in the plan
There-
set, if you
it
look
could
at
be
it, I think
as
it's actually
Big as the triangle. I mean, you'd have parking, but yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
so,
yeah,
and it's, it's hard to be able to say exactly because, offices also have a different parking requirement
Right.
than restaurants. So it would, if the scale of the building increases, so would the amount of required parking. It would depend on, where that parking can be located.
What's the parking setback again?
Let me look it up.
Currently, they have 15, what they're proposing is
15?
15 feet, yeah.
Okay.
15 feet except for the street side. There's a reduced setback on the street side for parking.
Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties.
It's a big PDF file. Mine is loading too.
Oh, no,
And an office would have, deliveries, UPS, mail, all
And
that kind of
hours-
stuff.
The problem we had previously was hours of operation, and especially in today's environment. It seems like those that open offices are open them because they can't work out of their home. And the reason why is the extended hours and the things that you typically would see. That's why they're getting into offices. So I don't want to say that the idea is not apples to apples, but I would say that you're going to get some proposal on this property, and that question might have hours of operation might be more intense for a use like that. So.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, so, my son-in-law, who's worked in the industry for many years, currently does work for restaurants and has worked and, provided some detail. And because our restaurant is more walkable for the neighborhood and with biking, we do see a reduced traffic impact than you would if we were, a national chain with national advertising and, we're not that. So, and, don't have the visibility that you would see on 23. So, I really think the impact is gonna be relatively low in terms of the number of vehicles. While we might have great walk-in traffic and or kids walking over from the school or biking, which was our hope. I think the actual car traffic is gonna be relatively limited.
And I would assume that traffic would be heavier when it first opens, just because of the excitement of opening, but I would think as it, settles in,
Exactly.
it would slow down.
I mean, I sat outside of Dairy Queen the other day and watched people in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. It was insane. A lot of restaurants, it's not exactly fast food, but it could be, could have ice cream, could be
Yeah, is
fast
it
food.
ice cream, like, could you go in, get ice cream and walk back out?
Well, it's not a pickup window at the thing, but you could. We don't, that's why we have some outdoor seating.
Okay.
Is that you would walk in, if you had ice cream, you'd sit there and eat your ice cream. But it's not, again, we don't have an ordering.
There's not like a fast food
It's
counter
not-
or anything?
Yeah, it's not ordering like Dairy Queen, so there's no,
So it's table service inside?
yeah, well, it's walk-up tables, walk-up service.
There's a drive-through, right?
It's
not
only for
drive-through, it's
pickup.
a pickup.
I can't.
Well,
I
for
can't-
now.
They're saying that I'd have to order on the app, basically, and then go
You'd
get
have
it.
to order on the app, yeah.
Yeah, for now. I mean, it could be a very fast-paced restaurant, which is why,
We might be able to restrict the drive-through part as a condition, so.
the no walk-up traffic, or no, well, how would you restrict and say you have to order on the app?
I'm just saying like no. Yeah, pickup only, yeah.
Which is what it's currently.
Yeah,
But what does that mean, pickup only? Like, no,
like you can park and go grab it, or,
It's not like
Park and
McDonald's
walk
where
and-
I say I want a
Yeah.
Big Mac, and then I go get it a minute later.
so is there a prohibition on,
drive-throughs.
yeah?
I mean, we've done them in the past.
But there's a drive-through in this currently, right?
There's a pickup window.
Just
So-
a pickup window? Could it become a drive-through in the future?
Well, not if you restrict it, which I'm fine
But
with.
it could at this point, because, thinking of
Wait, they
menu
wrote in the
board.
text, no.
No
window
pickup
only.
win.
Pickup window
The idea
only.
is- the
But
idea
what
is
does pickup window mean?
A drive-through, you drive up to an ordering point.
Mm-hmm.
You speak into a speaker, you order food, there's a queue line, and then you pull up and pay and pick up your food. Usually there's a line, there's a speaker outdoors. There's none of that. There's no outdoor speaker. You would have ordered on the app ahead of time. Your order is ready, you would go the direction of traffic that Trustee Faust talked about.
Counterclockwise.
You'd roll up right to the window, you'd show your order would be ready, it'd already been paid for, you'd hand it to them, and they'd leave.
Is there a prohibition on the, what are those called, menu boards? There's a better name for it, the ordering boards.
Well, there's no, yeah,
What's it called?
there's no exchange.
No, yeah, I think,
Is there
I
a
just don't know.
prohibition in the
I don't
text,
know if
though,
that's
against that?
Content related.
Yeah, they've committed to a pickup window only. So if they put in order boards.
But what's the difference legally between a pickup window and a drive-through,
Well, I think the applicant just explained that.
Is that in the text, though?
Drive-through is, well, we define drive-through, don't we, in the?
No, we
do not.
don't. So it could be, a pickup window could become a drive-through if it's not carefully defined and prohibited, then,
I think we can
can write
just
it in.
clarify that drive-through.
But there's a name for that board, the speaker.
No, it's a menu board.
Menu board, that's
Yeah.
it.
You're correct, trustee Knapp. Yeah, I mean, we could basically say it's, pickup window only, no.
No ordering.
No ordering, no menu board.
No menu board, no ordering outside.
No ordering outside, yeah. We can, if the applicant is fine with that, we can flush that out a little bit.
Very comfortable with
To jump back to liquor and other things, I know there's the idea of enforceable today, but, been in front of a lot of boards, if you put restrictions in place and you can regulate it in the future, offering those abilities to regulate that in the development text, so.
And alcohol, selling
But
alcohol?
I'm saying the idea, I don't know what the legislature, this legislature's changing what you guys can regulate all the time, so.
But I think that's a blanket prohibition. I don't think we can regulate that at all, correct?
Yeah, I understand what,
But what I'm saying is
What
that
you're
might
saying,
give you
but-
grounds for an appeal, for the arguments if you are, say, well, our zoning actually prohibits that, even though, so I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I don't think zoning can prohibit that, though.
But I do think that down the road, zoning's taking into consideration, the general welfare all the time, so if there's things that you can do in there that would allow you guys the ability to regulate it in the future, we're just offering that as a concession, so I don't wanna make it sound like we're looking over that issue, we do wanna protect the community,
Yeah.
so.
I just don't think we can interfere with that in the future. I mean, you can say that you don't want to have that intent, but then, a few years down the road, you're tired of running a business, you have to sell it, and, you have a building that's expensive, and there's a myriad other uses or similar uses that could just be more intense for that area. But I appreciate all the effort you've gone to, meeting with the residents and everything else. I don't know.
So just hearing from the board, if the board chooses to recommend or approve this application, we would have a couple conditions, and I know Robin and I have been messaging to kind of get those straightened out, but it looks like providing directional signage, providing a continuous row of shrubs at least 3 feet in height, particularly near those 7 parking spaces facing rail timber, and restricting the drive-through for, if a future restaurant were to come in.
Prohibiting a menu board.
Are we allowed to do that? I just know, the signage content stuff is
yeah,
concerning.
I think we can.
Okay.
And I think, Robin's got
Yeah, so it would
some
be,
suggested language.
and
that I
like
think would
pickup
work.
only, so if the board is okay with those conditions, we can just go into a quick recess and look at that, and then
And then also that the building and parking would be as indicated on the plan.
that would be, that's
That's a given. Yep,
yeah.
that's part of their application that we're
Yeah,
approving.
they'll have to amend the development plan if
But
they're
they
gonna change
can't
it.
move the building around or in a
If they do
different
not
spot?
comply with the setbacks, as requested, they will need to amend the development plan.
So because Julie said that, I talked to Julie, and she had said that we could add that as a stipulation, that it had to be as built, and that they couldn't modify, like, that has to be built as shown and not they can't,
As shown on the site plan.
yeah, it's shown
Yeah.
on the site plan, that's what I'm trying
I'm
to say.
fine if you want to
Can you
add
add
that
that?
as well. Absolutely.
So yeah, I just need a couple minute recess to go over with our council. Okay.
And is it one story?
It's currently shown it was 2 stories because I didn't know what we were gonna build, but
Right.
I'm probably gonna build it 1 story.
Can we limit it to one story
Well,
then?
that's the difference of, that would be an architectural plan versus a site plan,
Yeah, I
right?
haven't
It
gone
gives you some
to-
freedom.
Yeah, I mean, we can
Yeah.
limit the height,
But if
which-
is he limiting it to one
But I feel like I'd
floor,
rather.
or could it be 2?
I'd rather allow him to go through the design process and lay out the mechanical spaces and all that kind of stuff to
But
make
2
sure.
versus 1 is a
Is a
big
difference, yeah.
difference.
I mean, it wouldn't exceed 35 feet, correct, in height?
No.
Yeah, so that is a residential structure.
Okay.
We have to provide parking based on the additional square footage, so I think if there was this, he was only talking a small, if you look at the floor plans that were in there, they were very small areas.
It's not
second
much
floor.
up there, yeah.
I don't know that he'd have parking sufficient for a full, I know he wouldn't for a full second floor, so if anything, it was just a small loft area
I
for
was
a
just gonna
little party.
storage or,
Right.
have a little office in there, but
Right. Stairs are expensive to build.
the stairs are expensive,
Yes.
so as I've learned.
Yeah, but you're thinking
Yeah.
of future use too,
Right,
I'm
yeah.
thinking 2 stories and
Yeah.
2 different restaurants.
definitely.
2 restaurants in one, I mean,
Worst case scenario, girl.
oh, I've seen it all.
Other thoughts?
I don't have any.
I think that's,
I'm ready for
I
recess
think-
and we
Okay,
can make
That's all.
we'll recess for
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Okay.
You both ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's return from recess. Are there other comments or questions from the board?
I didn't have any.
Okay. Is there a motion from the board?
I can make a motion to approve with modifications. Do I have to read the whole thing?
I would read the four bullets, and the title and the four bullets, please.
And make a motion, like the number and everything?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and it's
Make a motion to
141.
approve Resolution 25-141 to adopt the recommendation of the Zoning Commission as to rezoning application ZON-25-01, Stugatz Italian Sausage, to amend the currently effective development plan to allow for the operation of a restaurant. The conditions being, the applicant shall install direction signage and/or pavement markings that indicate the desired circulation on the site. A continuous row of shrubs at least 3 feet in height at time of planting shall be planted between the 7 parking spaces that face west and the right-of-way line. The pickup window shall only be utilized for orders that are placed ahead of time. A drive-through window and associated features such as menu boards and speakers shall not be a permitted use on the site. No changes to the development plan within the application, including setback exhibits, shall be permitted except by modification by the Orange Township Board of Trustees.
Second?
Roll call. Trustee Knapp.
No?
Trustee Faust.
Yes.
Trustee Ringel.
Yes.
Okay.
You're approved. Carries.
With that, our zoning hearing's adjourned. Thank you.